Chapter 42. Owen's eyes opened to find Dr. Veretti bending over him. Ah! He screamed in surprise, and he tried to push himself backwards, but found he was strapped down. Finally, Dr. Veretti said. I didn't think you'd ever wake up. Looks like I set the stun setting up just a bit too high. Didn't you use any magic, though? Ah! Owen screamed again. Let's move past that, shall we? Dr. Veretti said, beginning to pace. Owen quickly looked around and realized that he wasn't in the audience chamber anymore. Instead, this looked much like some sort of dark hallway, lit by the smallest of nuclear explosions on either side. And in front of him was the vault, Dr. Veretti said. Notice anything unusual about it? Owen frantically looked over the door, but didn't know what to say, so he just shook his head. It's not open, Dr. Veretti shouted. Do you not see the problem here, boy? I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keys here. What kind of hero are you, showing up without all the keys you need to find the only weapon that can defeat me? Owen stayed quiet, thinking as quickly as he could. There was no way he could give the mad scientist the last key he needed. No matter what it cost him, he couldn't let Dr. Veretti use a bomb to wipe out everyone who had ever used magic. Not only would that be the entire population of Masteria, but also Keel, the Magister, Owen himself, maybe even Bethany. But how could he keep the 7th key from the doctor? If all it took was a selfish heart... Hold it, wait a second. Dr. Veretti peered down at him impatiently. Well? Well, what? Owen asked, stalling as he walked his way through the plan. Where is the last key? Owen took a deep breath, crossing his fingers, toes, and everything else. I know where it is, and I'll give it to you under one condition. Dr. Veretti grinned. Look who wants to make a deal. He took 2 steps closer until he hung over Owen like a gargoyle. Slowly, he raised a ray gun right at Owen's face. You don't really seem to be in the greatest position to be negotiating, though, all things considered. Owen swallowed hard. Go ahead, shoot me. As you command. The ray gun began to power up, and the doctor grinned wider. But if I die, you'll never get the key, Owen finished quickly. If you die, you won't have any say in what happens to the key, Dr. Veretti said. That's starting to look like my preferred option at this point, honestly. At least I would never have looked at you again. Ah, the key is in my heart, Owen shouted, turning his head away from the ray gun. If you shoot me and my heart stops, the key will never work. Dr. Veretti stood back and gave Owen a careful look. You aren't lying, he said, tapping the still powered-up ray gun against his glasses. I can tell. No increase in heart rate. And if you're not lying, that presents a very annoying problem. You can't live, you see. You cause me far too many problems. But I want the source, Keel. I don't want loose ends, and this wipes up pretty much every single one, including you, by the way. So what do I do? Let me live, Owen said. There's got to be a way to make sure the bomb doesn't kill me too. Then you'll have your weapon, and I'll go away. You'll never see me again. Pardon me for suggesting this, but if I take the key out of your heart, wouldn't that just stop your heart from working? And wouldn't that therefore negate the end of this bargain? Owen nodded and took another deep breath. But you can save me, he said, going all in. Charm gave me a robot heart, just like hers. Put it in, do whatever you need to do to keep me alive, and the 7th key is yours. Dr. Veretti's eyes went wide, and he held up the robotic heart Charm had given Owen back at the Magister's tower. Well, that explains why you had this on you. He began to laugh harder and harder until Owen wondered if he was going to have a heart attack himself. You want me to save you? With science? The doctor finally gasped. You, Keel Nomenfoot, will become a creature of technology? I don't even need a reason. I'd happily do that, just to make everything you fought for completely worthless. You have to promise I'll be okay, Owen said. Otherwise, there's no deal. Or I could just take the key out of your heart myself while it still beats, the doctor said, raising his eyebrow. That won't work. According to the zombie of the first magician, the only way to form the seventh key is if I give my heart up freely and selfishly. Dr. Veretti started to sweat. I really, really hate magic, he sighed. I really did not want to kill you, and I really did want to kill you too. This is turning out to be very disappointing, all things considered. Trust me, things aren't going the way I had hoped either. Dr. Veretti snorted at that and then shrugged. Okay, one robotic heart for one heart key. Deal. Shake. He held out his hand and Owen went to shake it, but only to remember he was still tied down. The doctor grinned. Gotcha. Owen sighed. Just do it already. Soldiers! Dr. Veretti snapped his fingers, and two science soldiers stepped up next to Owen. We're going to need a little surgery. Take the boy's robot heart and switch it with one of his chest, will you? One of the science soldiers held Owen down while the other's fingers folded up, replaced by knives. Wait, they're going to do it? Owen shouted. I want a real doctor. They contain all the knowledge in our medical libraries, Dr. Veretti said absently, and then he gave him a real evil look. Or, if you would prefer, I could do it. Owen shivered and shook his head. Your loss. Let's move, soldiers. Give our boy a new heart. The science soldier holding the robotic heart touched his arm, pricking it with some sort of needle, and suddenly the room began to get a little wavy and foggy. Owen fought to stay awake, but whatever it was that the robot had injected him with was way too powerful. Don't forget, you promised to keep me alive, he said as clearly as he could. We'll see, Dr. Veretti said. Bethany, Owen said as everything turned black. I'm sorry. And as Owen fell unconscious, Dr. Veretti turned to the science soldiers. Who's Bethany? He asked.